Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Inshallah, brother and sister, inshallah we will start the program in 5 minutes. Please, brother and sister who's already here, pay attention, and the brother we have in the separate room, which is for the brother we have the in front room, and from the sister is in the back room. So inshallah, we will start in 5 minutes. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Program in 5 minutes. Please, brother and sister who's already here, attention, and the brother we have in the separate room, which is for the brother we have the in front room, and from the sister is in the back room. Inshallah, we will start in 5 minutes. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Program in 5 minutes. Please, brother and sister who's already here, attention, and the brother we have in the separate room, which is for the brother we have the Tes, assalamualaikum. Tes, assalamualaikum. Tes, assalamualaikum. Tes, assalamualaikum. Assalamualaikum. Tes, assalamualaikum. Tes, assalamualaikum. Itu nggak bunyi dari sini. Ya. Tes, assalamualaikum. Udah? Tes, assalamualaikum. Assalamualaikum. Tes, assalamualaikum. Tes, assalamualaikum. Itu nggak bunyi dari sini. Ya. Tes, assalamualaikum. Tes, assalamualaikum. Udah? Tes, assalamualaikum. Tes, nggak kedengar. Tes. Assalamualaikum. Assalamualaikum. Dari sini. Tes. Tes. Yang ini di atas. Volumenya di atas. Tes, 1, 2, 3. Tes. Tes. Nggak kedengar. Bismillah. Tes. Bismillah. Tes. Assalamualaikum. Bismillah. Tes. 1, 2, 3. Bismillah. Yang ini di atas. Bismillah. Tes. 1, 2, 3. Tes, 1, 2, 3. Tes. Bismillah. Bismillah. Tes. 1, 2, 3. Tes. Tes. Bismillah. Tes. Bismillah. Tes. Tes. 1, 2, 3. Tes. Bismillah. Tes. Bismillah. Ya udah. Tes. 1, 2, 3. Bismillah. Yang ini di atas. Bismillah. Tes. 1, 2, 3. Tes. 1, 2, 3. Tes. Bismillah. Bismillah. Tes. 1, 2, 3. Tes. Bismillah. Tes. Tes. 1, 2, 3. Tes. Bismillah. Bismillah. Oke, bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa mawalah. Asyhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la syarikalah wa asyhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Rabbi israh li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Raditu billahi rabba wa bil islami dina wa bi Muhammadin nabiyya wa rasula. Amma ba'd. We beginning with praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most merciful, the most beneficent, and salawat and salam we are going to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam with his ummah. Inshallah we will be joining Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Jannah. Inshallah. Amin ya Allah ya Rabbal. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Aji. Alhamdulillah, I have a task to do as MC today. Inshallah. Jazakumullah khairan katsira for the brother and sister who already attended this program. Inshallah, the program will be running by ICV, Islamic Council Victoria, with the conjunction with the IMCV, which is Islamic Muslim Indonesia Muslim Community Victoria. Alhamdulillah, we have two speakers here, which is Sister Kali Clarit as ICV Islamophobia Support as Service Manager. Jazakillah, sister, you will be coming here for us. And the second one is Sister Linda Yang as ICV Islamophobia Support Community and Case Support Officer. Jazakumullah khair, sisters, for attending our program. So the program will start in after this reading rundown, which is will be first speech from Brother Andy as President of IMCV, and then followed by the speech Sister Kali and Sister Linda, and after that follow with the question and answer rundown, and we closing with the dua and have a big branch. Inshallah, we provided by Sister Muslimah Jamaah Baitul Ma'mur. So Sister Linda. And after that, follow with the question and answer. So this is time for President IMCP to lead some speech. And have a branch. Inshallah, you provided by Sister Muslimah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahirrahmanirrahim. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. All praises belong to Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Salat and salam to our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to all of his family and to all of his companions. Alhamdulillah, today we are gathering in this special place in Masjid Baitul Ma'mur to have a presentation and a discussion or a sharing session with our sisters from ICV, Islamic Council of Victoria. Thank you to Holy Cleric and Sister Linda Yang who are present today. They are the task force of Islamophobia unit at the ICV. Sister Holy Cleric is the manager of the Islamophobia support services, and Sister Linda Yang is the case studies officer with ICV. We would also like to thank and welcome Brother Hanif from the St. Mary Mosque. Brother Muhammad, who is our regular Jemaah from the Sri Lankan Muslim community, and all of the brothers and sisters that I can say the name one by one. Today, this event is the first event that we organize with ICV. In fact, by talking to Sister Holly and Sister Linda, this ICV event or presentation, face-to-face meeting that they are having, this is the first time that they're having it with the community. And Alhamdulillah, it's a privilege for IMCV to be the first organization who has the meeting with ICV in regards to increase the awareness of Islamophobia in Victoria. We have been selected as the new committee of the Indonesian Muslim community of Victoria just over 2.5 months ago, and I am the elected president. I have Brother Anis Armanto here, who is the General Secretary of IMCV. We have sisters who are also the office bureaus of IMCV. Sister Amy is the coordinator of Bazis, which is the Zakat, Infak and Sadaqah, and we also have treasurer, which is Sister Shirley Fitriana. Alhamdulillah, we are all here today to listen. Sometimes when we talk about Islamophobia, it's a terminology that we often heard, but we don't discuss this a lot. It's something that we as Muslims sometimes are subject to Islamophobia, but we keep quiet and we just think that, oh, we're just a minority. We shouldn't even bring this up, or we never discuss this even among our family at home. Something that this issue is a big issue. I see it as a Muslim living in Australia, although I spent most of my life living in New Zealand, in Auckland. And if you go back to say maybe 2.5 years ago, to what happened on the tragic day in Christchurch, where somebody who hates the Muslims so much and killed 51 people on the day. And this is a lesson learned that we hope to Allah and pray to Allah that this will never happen again anywhere in the world. So this issue is a big issue for us. We should be more aware of this. Our sisters should be talking about Islamophobia. We have to educate our children and inshallah our grandchildren about this. If it becomes a forceful at the political level, those people who hate Islam, who dislike Islam, who has prejudice against Islam, we as a Muslim have to act on this. And Alhamdulillah, ICV as the umbrella of the Muslim organization in Victoria have taken this issue very, very serious. Inshallah, they will be having this kind of session with other mosques or other Muslim community around Victoria. And without further ado, I would like to invite Sister Holly or Sister Linda Young first to say a few words on behalf of the Islamic Council of Victoria. To Sister Linda, please. I would like to invite Sister Holly or Sister Linda Young first to say a few words on behalf of the Islamic Council of Victoria. To Sister Linda, please. I would like to
Assalamu alaikum.
Sister Holly or Sister Linda Young.
Jazakallah khair for having both Holly and I here to represent ICV today. It is a great privilege to be here on behalf of ICV. And I just want to thank IMCV for welcoming us, and also it's a great privilege to have ICV here today. To represent ICV. So today we'll be sharing some information about Islamophobia support. So as Brother Anas say, my name is Linda. I'm the Community and Case Support Officer at the ICV. My role there is to provide case management and also who have for people who have experienced Islamophobia, and also focus on collaborating with the community as well. My name is Holly, who I'm the Community who is the Islamophobia support manager. And today we'll be sharing information and having just a discussion about Islamophobia and also Q&A together on collaborating with the community as well. My name is Holly, who I'm the Community. So just feel free to kind of interrupt us if you have any questions in between the session. We want to have this as not as formal, but quite open, as open discussion. So just feel free to interrupt us at any time. Any questions or any comments? And I'd just like to make a quick acknowledgement to country. So we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we work and live, and recognize their continuing connection to land, water, and community. We acknowledge that we are on the land of the Muslim people today, and that the land we are on has never been ceded. We pay our respect to elders past, present, and emerging. So we are here today on behalf of the ICV, which is often referred as the ICV. The ICV is a big Muslim body in Victoria that represents over 200,000 Victorian Muslims, or which is an estimated 3.3% of the Victorian population. Our 75-member society represents over 100 different ethnic communities, and the Indonesian Muslim community of Victoria is one of our valued member societies. At the ICV, our vision is to build a better community for all Australians through the empowerment of Muslims in Victoria. Within our service, we provide advocacy and social welfare service, and we firmly believe in community and committed in providing support which protects the rights of all Victorian Muslims. One of the community service we offer is called Islamophobia support. So that's why we're here today, to kind of present the information to all of you here. And just a little bit about the ICV committee as well, executive committee. So just a quick statement from them, of which you don't know as you attend today. The statement from them is the ICV Executive Committee would like to express a great joy and enthusiasm in collaborating with the IMCV on this event. Working with the Indonesian community is of great importance to the ICV, as an integral pillar to our community here in Victoria. Sadly, all our executives were unavailable to attend today as an internal organisational meeting was already planned in advance, but we look forward to meeting and further engaging with IMCV soon. So now I would like to hand over the microphone to Howard to kind of present information about what Islamophobia support is. Sadly, all our executives were unavailable to attend today as an internal organisational meeting was already planned in advance, but we look forward to meeting and further engaging with IMCV soon. So now I would like to hand over the microphone to Howard to kind of present information about what Islamophobia support is. Sadly, all our executives were unavailable to attend today as an internal organisational meeting.
So as we know, today we'll be here talking about how to support people who have experienced Islamophobia and racism. So we know that Islamophobia can be defined and understood in many different ways. As a concept, Islamophobia is complex and contested, with different definitions serving different functions. A form of prejudice, Islamophobia and racism share a number of comparative components in many different ways. As a concept, Islamophobia, a form of prejudice, Islamophobia is often likened to racism, serving different functions. Some people have problems with this because we know that Islamophobia and racism share a number of comparative components in many different ways. We know that society generally understands what racism is and why it's a problem. At the ICV, we often refer to Islamophobia as anti-Muslim racism or cultural racism. We know that society generally understands what racism is. When we're talking about Islamophobia, we often like to make a separation between Islamophobic sentiment and Islamophobic incidents. So Islamophobic incidents include words, actions and behaviours that are usually motivated by anti-Muslim racism. They look and feel different for everyone. There are all different types of Islamophobic incidents, and here we have some examples of some of the types of Islamophobic incidents. So threats, name-calling and verbal abuse, direct and indirect discrimination, harassment, hate speech and vilification, online bullying and abuse, physical assault and damage to property. All Islamophobic incidents are unfair and many are unlawful. We know that the way that Islamophobia is kind of understood by law in Victoria can be helpful and empowering of some kind, but it can also be very disempowering at other times. Physical assault and damage to property. We know that Islamophobia has destructive and traumatic impacts. It affects both those who experience it directly and communities because of secondary exposure. And while we know that the impacts, and we see through our service, the impacts of Islamophobia are extremely diverse, we know that some of the most Islamophobia reported feelings are feeling depressed, humiliated, scared, distressed, isolated, anxious, confused and disappointed. At this point, I'll also just comment is while we'll be sharing information, we really want to encourage if anybody has any questions or would like to contribute in any way to this presentation, please. You're warmly encouraged to interrupt or not even interrupt, but have a conversation. We're here to have a dialogue. A friendly reminder. While we'll be sharing information, we really want to encourage. So we know that many people who experience Islamophobia face barriers to getting help. Some of these include limited awareness of rights and laws. Sometimes people are discouraged by the complex reporting processes that we have available. We know that sometimes there's limited trust and confidence in some of the services that exist, particularly some of the media face barriers, for example, Victoria Police. Some of these, we know that sometimes there's limited awareness of even where to seek support or report. And sometimes even if there's awareness of where to perhaps go, there might be limited awareness about what the possible outcomes can be from reporting or seeking support. Another commonly kind of understood barrier to getting help is that sometimes we don't feel that what's happened. So an incident is actually serious enough to report. There might be limited awareness about what the possible outcomes can be from reporting or seeking support. In response to the impacts of Islamophobia that we feel across Victoria, and more broadly certainly, but also the barriers to getting help, the ICV decided to develop the Islamophobia Support Service. So our culturally responsive service is free, confidential and available to the wider community. Our service provision is focused on 3 areas, and I'm going to, and more broadly certainly, but also the barriers to getting help. The ICV decided to develop the Islamophobia Support Service. So our culturally responsive service is individual support, confidential and available to the wider community. So individual support is about the provision of information, advice, referrals and case management to people who experience Islamophobia. So as Linda said, she is our primary case manager at the ICV and provides very high quality and kind care to people who access our individual support service. So through our service, we aim to help people understand and navigate their different service and support options. We also aim to respond to specific support needs and help people with the outcomes they may be seeking. So through our service, we have helped people across Victoria who have experienced Islamophobia in their workplaces, in school, on public transport, on the street, in the media and on social media platforms, and help people with the outcomes they may be seeking. So through our service, we have helped people across Victoria who have experienced Islamophobia in their workplaces, in school, on public transport, on the street, in the media and on social media platforms, and help people with the outcomes they may be seeking. So through our service, we have helped people across Victoria who have experienced Islamophobia in their workplaces, in school, on public transport, on the street, in the media and on social media platforms, and help people with the outcomes they may be seeking. Through our service, we have helped people across Victoria who have experienced Islamophobia in their workplaces. Okay, thank you. Sometimes when we're talking about individual support, sometimes there are questions about what does individual support look like? And what our team has done recently is actually put together 3 de-identified cases. So these have been developed with input from the people involved, but to show when we're talking about individual support, sometimes there are questions about what does individual support look like. People. So again, they are de-identified, and I have consent to share these with you. So first, I would like to share Aman's experience. So Aman experienced Islamophobia in the sense that she witnessed a threatening video aimed at the Muslim community in her local area. And the video circulated online, and Aman found the video. She was really anxious, scared, and certainly very distressed. Experienced Islamophobia in the sense that she witnessed a threatening video. Aman was referred to the ICV Islamophobia Support Service, and from here we were able to offer her referrals to culturally sensitive psychologists. The service also reported the video to Victoria Police. Aman didn't feel comfortable doing this herself, but it certainly needed to be investigated. So we were able to report the video to police for investigation on her behalf. Offer her referrals to culturally sensitive psychologists. Aman shared that she felt relieved, and she said that she now feels that it's okay to speak up. Didn't feel comfortable doing this herself, but it certainly needed to be investigated. Next, I'll share Layla's experience with you. So Layla is a student in Victoria. She experienced Islamophobia while studying. That she felt relieved, and she said that she now feels. So in Layla's course at TAFE, Islamophobic slides were presented in one of her lectures. This was part of the educational materials. She reported the slides to her TAFE department, explaining why they were problematic, why they were Islamophobic, and the department didn't do anything about it. Unfortunately, the department explained to Layla that the slides were for discussion educational materials. Layla felt felt isolated and fearful, explaining why they were problematic, why they were Islamophobic. Layla connected with the ICV Islamophobia support service, and what happened at the TAFE was actually reported to the Victorian Equal Opportunity and Human Rights Commission. So under law, what the slides included was religious vilification. So it was unlawful what the TAFE was sharing. So what happened was once we went to the commission, we then had a conciliation meeting, and ICV Islamophobia support supported Layla through that conciliation process and there was an agreement between Layla and the TAFE with some outcomes that Layla was able to perhaps specify and that she was satisfied with. So another outcome from working through the service was Islamophobia support then continued to consult the TAFE department to perhaps try to address some gaps in their cultural intelligence, but also to connect them with some other specialists, academics, community services, really to make sure that this didn't happen again. So nobody should experience Islamophobia while they're learning. Layla felt that her well-being was prioritised and she was satisfied seeing that change can happen. And I think certainly going through the process for Layla at the commission with support helped her to achieve some outcomes that she was satisfied with. So the final or the third case or experience we would like to share with you today is Omar's experience. So Omar is a student, and Omar experienced Islamophobia in school. She was satisfied with. So Omar was subjected to Islamophobic bullying from his teacher at school. We would like to share with you today is Omar's. He felt humiliated, confused, and upset, and certainly this was in front of his peers. Omar experienced Islamophobia in school. Omar's dad connected with the ICV Islamophobia support service, and the service worked with Omar's dad to write a letter to the school to explain what had happened, to also highlight why what had happened was unlawful, but also in contravention with all of the school's policies, to asking for the incident to be investigated. And the school responded to the letter, and the school worked with Omar's dad to investigate the incident, to support Omar, and also to look at cultural awareness training for staff, again, so that students at school were not subjected to this again. Omar and his dad expressed that they felt supported and they felt grateful. So I hope that at this point, before I transition, I don't know if anybody has any questions about these three de-identified experiences, but I suppose if one of the purposes of us sharing them with you today is to really show what that part of our service looks like, and we'd certainly, Linda and I can provide more detail now or later if you wish to help further explain what that looked like. So does anybody have any questions? But I suppose if one of the purposes of us sharing them with you today is to really show what that part of our service looks like, and we'd certainly, Linda and I can provide more detail now or later if you wish to help further explain what that looked like. So does anybody have any questions? But I suppose if one of the purposes of us sharing them with you today is to really show what that part of our service looks like, and we'd certainly, Linda and I can provide more detail now or later if you wish to help further explain what that looked like. So does anybody have any questions? One of the purposes of us sharing them with you today is to really show what that looks like. And we'd certainly, Linda and I can provide more detail. Yes, if you wish to help further explain what that looks like. So does anybody have any questions? Yes. Does anybody have any questions?
Was other students
Yes.
other students harder to I suppose, the parents, of that child where it is a matter of as bullying as well as something that we considered as just expressing thoughts. So how do you does how parent of that how to address the fears students, other students subjective negative remarks to other students, how does that
No, thank you very much for your questions. And I'll go to the first question, which was about, and correct me if I've misunderstood, but was about, being kind of victimized or being treated unfairly because you have reported or made a complaint. And I think what's really really important when we're looking at reporting victimization under law, you can't be treated unfairly because you've made a report or complaint. So I think that certainly through our service, regardless of whether it is a formal justice pathway like the Commission or like Victoria Police, it's really important that we remember that those laws exist and those protections exist, and that our service, we have some cases that we have had open for over 2 years. So we have provided ongoing support, even if perhaps the incident happened in 2019. Remember, we are continuing to work this, and those protections exist, but also that our agency or we have some person responsible to ensure that that person isn't treated unfairly, and that the right supports are in place. So does that somewhat answer that first question? I think that certainly fears of secondary victimization, so being treated poorly when you are accessing a service, are very, very legitimate, and we see that every day. But I think what our service hopefully tries to do is provide that support. And I think with the example about the video, certainly there was concern about going to Victoria Police. So it was our responsibility as a service to listen and understand and actually take the case on behalf, so that person didn't need to be involved in the process, but also so that it was investigated, because it was certainly very harmful and very Islamophobic content in the video that had caused not only harm to the person, but also to the people in her networks and community. The second point you raised was around, bear with me, I'm just catching it again. It was certainly very harmful. Between students, yes. And how do we respond? Yeah, so thank you for refreshing my memory. So I think what's really, really important with the Islamophobia support, and perhaps you've hopefully seen through these, through the cases that we've shared, is that each type of support, and perhaps Linda can speak to this as well, is that it's different every time. So it's about being responsive to what's happened, what outcomes the individual or their family, particularly in the case of students, are seeking, and what the context is. So there can often be lots of different options, but it's about, for us, it's about first listening and understanding. So in the case of perhaps a student bullying or vilifying another student, it would be our job to play a supportive role and understand perhaps how the student, but also their parents, wanted it to be advanced. So it might be advanced in the way that it goes directly to the school, but it might also go through another pathway in the sense that it might go to the Commission or to the Department of Education and Training. But that's our job, is to listen and understand what the person or the family we're supporting is seeking and what their support needs are. Okay, no, thank you. Does anybody else have any questions, or to the Department of Education and Training? But that's our job, is to listen and understand what the person or the family we're supporting is seeking and what their support needs are. To ICV. Okay, so I'll just reflect on over the last week, we would have had 3 that have come through. So at the moment we have, I think it's 10 or 11 open cases. So 10 or 11 people that Linda certainly is supporting and providing one-on-one information, advice, referrals, and case management Yes. So at the moment we have, I think it's 10, that's open or open cases. So 10 or 11 people that certainly is supported and providing. Yeah, and that's a really good question. So certainly visibility is a challenge for any service, but for ours as well. So in terms of connecting with our service, people can connect via email, they can connect via phone, they can connect via a community reporting form which we have on our website, which I'll show you soon. But we also receive a lot of referrals from other community services. So we receive referrals sometimes from schools, we receive referrals from health services like co-health. We receive referrals from the Islamophobia Register Australia. So there are a lot of different ways that people find out about our service. But certainly our job is to really try to improve our visibility so that people are aware and hopefully coming together at times like this, like bring some visibility to what we do and why we do Australia. So there are a lot of different ways that people find out about our service. But certainly our job is to really try to improve our visibility so that people are aware and hopefully coming together at times like this, like bring some visibility to what we do and why we do Australia. So there are a lot of different ways that people find out about our service. But certainly our job is to really try to improve our visibility. It's the normalisation of Islamophobia within Victoria, within Australia. Unfortunately, I don't know. I don't know the answer either, but I think within the ICV and within our service, I see our role as to provide support and to again try to share with communities how we can provide that support. But it is the normalisation and the acceptance. We know. I don't know the answer either, but I think perhaps that's something we need to keep working together to try to respond to. And to again try to share with communities how we can provide that support. But it is the normalisation of the acceptance. We know. I don't know the answer either, but I think perhaps that's something we need to keep working together to try to respond to. And to again try to share with communities how we can provide that support. But it is the normalisation of the acceptance. We know. Either, but I think perhaps that's something we need to keep working together to try to respond to and to again try to share. Yes, but I know it is the normalisation of the acceptance. We know. Working together to try to respond to and to share. Yes, and what you've raised is really important. So I suppose within our service is, as you say, it is responsive. Responsive in the sense that we are, as you say, after an incident. In terms of there are certainly a number of different prevention measures taking place, but within Islamophobia support, it is more responsive. I think that within the ICV, there's certainly, as perhaps people know, we do have quite a strong kind of advocacy voice and advocacy efforts. So I believe that taking place that within the ICV, there is work being done in terms of it is more responsive, but within the scope of our service, you are spot on in the sense that it is responsive. I think that if in terms of the prevention aspect, I think that's something that we can better explore, and perhaps that it is a responsive service. But within the scope of our service, does anyone have any more questions, or would you like me to keep sharing and then we can? In terms of the prevention aspect, I think that's so the kind of second part of our service, so we have individual support, is about education and information sharing. So that looks really different in the sense that it can look like co-designing education sessions or information sessions, and we're really fortunate and grateful that we work or we have the opportunity to connect with lots of different people in this education and information sharing space. So today is certainly an example of that. We do kind of trainings for service providers to improve their cultural intelligence. We provide trainings to Victoria Police, to schools, to local government. We're really lucky, as I say, it's very unique depending on who we're connecting with. One thing that's really important is we're always focused on raising awareness about community supports, building the capacity of service providers, and I think for us, these information sessions also provide an opportunity for two-way learning. So as a service, coming together and hearing and listening and learning, we are constantly evolving and need to better understand how our service can be better connected, more responsive, and better meet the needs of our wider community. So another way that we try to share information is through our website. So we have an Islamophobia support website. There's plenty of information here. We have community resources here. We have different reporting options. We talk about our key partnerships, and we have some key kind of research and reports there as well. So one of the key community resources we have recently developed are some flyers. So we have some available here today. And again, this is kind of talking about who we are, how to connect with us, and how we help. So the third kind of thing that I might raise on our website is, as I mentioned, our report Islamophobia here kind of reporting tool. So we have a form. Some people like to connect with us in this way. As I mentioned, there are lots of different ways to connect in with our service. So people certainly don't have to complete the form to access our service, but it gives people an opportunity, particularly if people only want to report what's happened and don't want to seek any type of support, but actually just want it recorded. And this is also a good way for that to happen in with our service. The third area is around sector collaboration, and this is perhaps the most difficult to explain and perhaps the most invisible aspect of our service. So, we really believe that collaboration can lead to better support and better outcomes for the community. So we're really open to connecting in. As I mentioned, we have very good close connections with a number of different service providers across Victoria. And I suppose that, in building effective two-way referral pathways and having good information sharing, we can have a better connected service support system. So then we can, regardless of perhaps where somebody might enter the service system, they can access the same types of supports and care. So effective two-way referral pathways. I'll kind of talk you through what this sector collaboration kind of looks like and some of our key partners now. So as I mentioned, we collaborate with many different community groups and service providers, really the same types of different, lots of different relationships there. We do have kind of three primary partners. So the Islamophobia Register Australia. So as I mentioned, we have a great partnership with the Register. We receive referrals from the Register. So anybody that's reported to them from Victoria has access to the Islamophobia Support Service. We also work with Victoria Police. That's always a really delicate, partnership to kind of explain. We do a lot of work with Victoria Police around prejudice-motivated crimes and prejudice-motivated incidents, and certainly we provide a lot of education, training and advocacy because we know that there are so many we also work with challenges, and there has been a challenging history with Victoria Police. So really trying to improve victim-centric policing, really trying to improve the referrals that they provide, and also respond to kind of procedural injustice and experiences of secondary victimisation. The other kind of primary partner is the Victorian Equal Opportunity and Human Rights Commission, and we have a very strong relationship with them, and I can speak to some of the details of that later if we wish. The third kind of other area of partnerships is our Islamophobia Support Referral Network. So we actually have two separate referral networks that are quite formal. We have a mental health services referral network and a legal support services referral network. So we have worked agreements in place with a number of different service providers across Victoria, and those agreements really ensure that those services, be it a lawyer or a psychologist or a counsellor, are committed to providing professional and culturally safe service delivery. So all of those services are listed on our website, so people can access them in any if they choose to. We also utilise our Islamophobia support referral network in our case management. So that's a really important, they're really important partners, because we know that they are specialised and can offer some of the supports that perhaps we can't provide in our capacities. So that's I suppose the end of the formal aspects or the formal presentation. I really hope that in what Linda and I have shared, it's given you some insight into who we are as a service, why we exist, and certainly we're very humbled and very grateful for the invitation today. It's really important for us to acknowledge that. So thank you. And if anybody has any questions now, or they prefer to talk later, we can do that as well. Why we exist, and certainly we're very humbled and very grateful for the invitation today. It's really important for us to acknowledge that. So thank you. And if anybody has any questions now, or they prefer to talk later, we can do that as well. Why we exist, and certainly we're very humbled. So we do have connection to a number of different departments, like government departments. So the Department of Education and Training, certainly, we're not, how do I answer this? So we sit under the Department of Families, Fairness and Housing, but we do have connection into other departments. And when I say we sit under, we're supported by the Department of DFFH. In terms of how and when we connect into, say, the Department of Education and Training, again, that's really responsive to the individual support. So the case, for example, that was an option that was discussed with Omar's family to go to the Department of Education, but that was not a pathway that Omar's family were wanting to pursue. So certainly, I think there's always opportunity to be better connected into government departments, and something that we are constantly striving for. So I hope that somewhat answers your question, to go to the Department of Education, but that was not a pathway that Omar's family were wanting to pursue. So certainly, I think there's always opportunity to be better connected into government departments, and something that we are constantly striving for. So I hope that somewhat for the community. So I suppose the answer is no. There isn't a developed short course, but that doesn't mean that there can't be. Each kind of, when I talked about education and information sharing, everything we've done to date has been unique each time. So if for example, you said to us as a service, we would like to have a course and this is what we would like to learn about, then I think that's absolutely something that we would work together and co-develop and deliver. So there's not presently, I suppose, a course, but there could be. So if, for example, you said to us as a service, we would like to have a course and this is what we would like to learn about, then I think that's absolutely something that we would work together and co-develop and deliver. So there's not presently, I suppose, a course, but there could be. If, for example, you said to us as a service, we would like to have a course and this is what we would like to learn about, then I think that's absolutely something that we would work together and co-develop and deliver. So there's not presently, I suppose, a course, but there could be. For example, to us as a service. And also it's about capacity building as well. Like I think that, we know that some people are happy and comfortable to come to the ICV directly, and sometimes they might not be, and that's okay as well. So it's about, I think, as a peak body, recognising our role and our obligation and responsibilities to member societies, but also not just our member societies, to improve that capacity and have that strong connection between. So I think that's a really excellent idea idea and something that we have discussed certainly. So it's about, I think, as a peak body, recognising our role and our obligation and responsibilities to member societies, but also not just our member societies, to improve that capacity and have that strong connection between. So I think that's a really excellent idea and something that we have discussed certainly. So it's about, I think, as a peak body, recognising our role. Yes, I agree completely. Obligation and responsibilities to member societies, but also not just our member societies to improve that. Are there any other questions? And also Linda is obviously exceptional. I've been doing a lot of talking, so if you have any questions for Linda as well, please raise them with us, or as I say, we can speak afterwards if that's better. Completely. Are there any other questions? And also Linda is obviously exceptional. I've been doing a lot of talking, so if you have any questions for Linda as well, please raise them with us, or as I say, we can speak afterwards if that's better. Completely. Are there any other questions? And also Linda is obviously exceptional. I've been doing a lot of talking, so if you have any questions for Linda as well, please raise them with us, or as I say, we can speak afterwards if that's better. And this is a really good question, and I think that certainly when we're talking about Islamophobia, and then when we think about the different ways that different services and different organisations and different people, as I said before, there are so many different definitions and different ways of understanding and measuring Islamophobia. So it's a question that we have been grappling with in the service. Like certainly, for example, when you talk about perhaps the seriousness of, how do I know if it's perhaps serious enough, or how do I know? And this, I think, there's been some confusion when we think about, okay, well, the Victorian Equal Opportunity and Human Rights Commission, they don't use the word Islamophobia, they use the words religious vilification and religious discrimination. And then they have legal thresholds. So therefore that then sets the tone for what is and what isn't Islamophobia. And that goes back to my point earlier that the law can be both empowering and disempowering. And I suppose when we first started to look at why we wanted to have a service, it was because we saw that some of the other services were actually, invalidating experiences, because the laws served to, the laws are supposed to provide support and disempowering. And I suppose when we capture, but the way that Islamophobia is codified in law, unfortunately, it can be disempowering and invalidating. So that's why I think our service doesn't have a threshold. We don't validate. We would never, our service is about supporting the individuals. So we would never, and we talk about this a lot, Linda and I, we would never as a service say, no, that is not Islamophobia. That is not our role. Our role is to provide support. And where those are other services, our role will help to navigate the service system in the sense that we might say it looks as though this might also be considered under law a prejudice motivated crime, or it might be considered religious vilification. We can provide advice and speak about that, but our service never aims to exclude anybody's experience. Services, our role will help. I hope that answers your question. In the sense that we might say it looks as though this might also be considered under law a prejudice motivated crime, or it might be considered religious vilification. We can provide advice and speak about that, but our service never aims to exclude anybody's experience. Services, our role will help. I hope that answers your question. In the sense that we might say it looks as though this might also be considered under law a prejudice motivated crime, or be considered religious vilification. We can provide advice and speak about that, but our service never aims to exclude anybody's experience. Our role will help. And I think it also raises, our service provides information, advice, referrals, and case management. So, those first parts, sometimes people might come to us with a question and say, this happened. It feels and looks like Islamophobia, or it feels unfair. Can we? So I think that sometimes, it doesn't have to be a report necessarily. We do provide advice and information as well. So anybody can call us, email us, connect with us in any way to have a conversation. And I think it also raised as well, this idea of kind of direct and indirect, because sometimes we know that with Islamophobia, the perpetrator, the person, the organisation responsible, sometimes we know that it is malicious, and we know that it has been motivated by anti-Muslim prejudice or Islamophobia. But other times that's when we see indirect discrimination and things, where that's why some of the work we're doing with trying to improve the cultural intelligence of service providers, because they might not always perhaps realise or perhaps have the intention to be Islamophobic, but that doesn't mean that the net outcome that they're not being Islamophobic. That's when we see indirect discrimination and things, where that's why some of the work we're doing with trying to improve the cultural intelligence of service providers, because they might not always perhaps realise or perhaps have the intention to be Islamophobic, but that doesn't mean that the net outcome that they're not being Islamophobic. That's when we see indirect discrimination and things, where that's why some of the work we're doing with trying to improve the cultural intelligence of service providers.
Thank you very much. We have to leave for the commitment. What about the other departments that you mentioned, the police, for example, or other related departments? Do they have a special unit or a special department, special assigned to tackle this problem? If some incident happens or if something happens and it directly goes to those other special
yes, so perhaps I'll go through two examples. So at the Victorian Equal Opportunity and Human Rights Commission, they have a kind of unit called the Reducing Racism Project. So within that, it's not only focused on Islamophobia, but focused on any form of religious prejudice or racism in Victoria. We partner very, very closely with that department. So that is, and we work together. So when I spoke about two-way referral, so if somebody might come to us, we might then work with them. But they also, if someone goes to them first, they might then make a suggestion that the person be potentially supported by the Islamophobia Support Service. So that's I suppose a unit within the commission. Victoria Police is a little bit more complicated. So I'll try. Hopefully, I explain it in a clear way. But if it doesn't make sense, please tell me. So Victoria Police have a unit that we work very closely with called Priority and Safer Communities Division. So they have a number of different portfolio areas, and one of them is one of them is focused on prejudice motivated crime and incidents. So a prejudice motivated crime or incident is an incident that is recognised, or an incident or crime that is recognised as having an aggravating factor. So the aggravating factor might be prejudice, and that prejudice might be because it might be Islamophobic. So again, this idea of language and kind of thinking about shared language and our services role in incident is an incident that is so we do work very closely with Priority and Safer Communities Division, and as I said, that's a really important relationship because it's our role to advocate for what isn't working as well. So that is one area, but certainly we work with within the police service areas, we work with local police on the ground as well. So to support with reporting, to support with complaints about police mistreatment and misconduct, because we know that's also sometimes the services that are supposed to provide the support, like Victoria Police, are also the services that perhaps are within the police service areas. We work with local police are involved in support with reporting, to support with complaints about police mistreatment. And sorry, I know that's a bit of a tricky one to answer, but I hope that makes sense. To provide the support, like Victoria Police, are also the services that perhaps are within the police service.
I can see that there is, we should have a session like this with the youth, with the younger generation, the youth, even the children, to teach them and to make them aware this is not okay. So when something happens to them, at least tell the parents, and then the parents can contact the community, a member, community member from ICV, and then we can pass it on to ICV. I think education and awareness is the most important factor in all of this. I think it's something that we can look at to do in the future. But the initiative that ICV has, especially the work that we have done over the last 3 or 4 years in Rwanda, it's a very good initiative. It's a very good thing that ICV is thinking about having this special people handling the special matter that often happen to but we never actually bring that up, we never discuss it. And it's very good for the children. Special people,
Linda, was there anything you wanted to say after?
Yeah, I guess the question is come back to MCP as well, especially with engaging youth. What would be the best way to engage youth as well? Like whether that's kind of gatherings or kind of events like this as well. So kind of putting this kind of back to IMCV. So I'm not sure whether anybody is able to respond to that as well, especially with engaging youth. What would be the best way to engage youth as well? Like whether that's kind of gatherings or events like this as well. So kind of putting this kind of back to IMCV. So I'm not sure whether anybody is able to respond to that as well, especially with engaging youth. What would be the best way to engage youth as well? Like whether that's kind of gatherings or events like this as well. So kind of putting this kind of back to IMCV. So I'm not sure whether anybody is able to respond to that as well, especially with engaging youth. What would be the best way to engage youth as well? Like whether that's gatherings or events like this as well. So kind of putting this kind of back to IMCV. So I'm not sure whether anybody is able to respond to that as well.
Knowledge is culture, so we can give them the information.
Yeah, I think, and when we even think about, the last 20 years in the securitization and the over policing and even under policing at times, I think it is really important to reflect on, the way that countering violent extremism programs have been really detrimental. And how they have contributed to securitization and Islamophobia in Victoria, certainly, and the securitization of the community. So, yeah, I think we could definitely have a conversation and think about who the best people are to share information about terrorism, certainly securitization and Islamophobia in Victoria, certainly. Is there anything else? Any other comments or questions? So, yeah, I think we could definitely have a conversation and think about
just also on that point as well, because we're seeing that global events that do happen does impact the community here in Australia as well. So that not only impacts them like mentally, but also physically as well. So you might also have side effects of not feeling unwell and all that stuff as well. So I think it's important to kind of address this even within the community, like as parents, community leaders as well. So anything like that does happen, how would the community be able to react to it as well, instead of being just kind of being brushing out of the table, but with sessions like this, having the information and say, yes, this may be a form of terrorism or maybe a side effect of what is happening globally as well. How can we come back as a community? How can we empower the youth as well? So I think a session for today is quite important as well. So, going back as parents, going back as leaders as well, just engaging with the youth and saying, look, whatever is happening, it's okay. We're here to help you as well. There's guidance here as well. So I think this is really important, and it's actually very nice to see a large number of people gathering within ICV as well. So it is a privilege to actually be here to provide the information. So it's okay. We're here to help you as well. There's guidance here as well. So I think this is really important, and it's actually very nice to see a large number of people gathering within ICV as well. So it is a privilege to actually be here to provide the information. So I think it's okay. We're here to help you as well. There's guidance here as well. So I think this is really important, and it's actually very nice to see a large number of people gathering within ICV as well. So it is a privilege to actually be here to provide the information. So I think it's okay. We're here to help you as well. There's guidance here as well. So I think this is really important, and it's actually very nice to see a large number of people gathering within ICV as well. So it is a privilege to actually be here to provide the information. So I think it's okay. We're here to help you as well. There's guidance here as well. So I think it's it's actually very nice to see a large number of
I certainly know exactly what you mean. I think the best person so the ICV is doing a lot of work in this space. The best person to connect with would be our president, Adil Salman. He's leading this piece of work and doing a lot of work with communities, but also with schools around the laws and how to best support religious freedoms. So I probably am not in my capacity best place to kind of share information and comment on that, but I know that the ICV is doing a lot of important work in that space with communities. So I'm sorry that that's not an answer, but I definitely would be happy to take your details and religious freedoms. So yeah, definitely contact the ICV about it. Absolutely. Yeah, best place to kind of share information and comment on that, but I know that the ICV is doing a lot of important work in that space. So I'm sorry that that's not an answer, but I definitely.
If there is other questions, Sister Holly will still be here. Inshallah, Zuhur is at 12:20, so and this is a very good session that we have to Sister and also to Muslim community of Victoria. Alhamdulillah, this is the first of inshallah there will be many other sessions that we can hold or organize together. Before we close this presentation or discussion of the program that we have today, I would like to ask Brother Aji to make a dua and close the program for today, inshallah. Before we close this, but I would like to introduce the new award religious affair for ICV to leading the honor, inshallah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Let us pray together. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ya Rabbana Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Allahumma Rabbana la ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu minadh dhalimin. Rabbana dhalamna anfusana wa lam taghfir lana warhamna lanakunanna minal khasirin. Allahumma innal haqqa haqqan wa arina ittiba'ahu wa innal batila batila wa arina ijtinabah. Rabbana wajibah wa dhurriyyatina qurrata a'yun. Subhanaka inni kuntu Rabbana la tuzigh qulubana ba'da idh hadaytana wa hab lana min ladunka rahmah innaka antal wahhab. Hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina adzabannar. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun alal mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. We're up to the end of the program today, inshallah. Sister Holly and Sister Lila for behalf of the committee, we would like to apologize if we are not this presentation because I know that you are late, 1 hour late behind, and I would say so inshallah we will do better next time, inshallah. One but not least, jazakumullah khair to our audience today, and especially to the sister who provided special food today. Inshallah, this is the Indonesian food we call the soto betawi. So you may like it, inshallah, to have this. So I think the program will be end with the dua kafaratul majlis. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. La ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka